Hello, my name is Lynn Livsey. I'm your full spectrum Gnostic, and this is Encounters. This is our show for tonight. We have a great show. And what are we talking about today? We're talking about In Search for a New Earth. And this is going to be a very, very great topic because we have really screwed up this earth. Okay. So some people believe we need to go and find another one. And this is what some astrologers are out there, astronomers are out there looking for. They're out there scouring, now that we have found planets around all the stars. We estimate now that almost 70-80% of all stars have planets going around them. We're looking for inhabited planets, habitable planets that can support life. And the problem we was having before is with the technology we had. We could only find gas giants. But now we're getting to the point where we can now start spotting planets around our size. And we are starting to find them. And we want to find them because we don't have the technology to go out there today. But we're thinking about tomorrow because this planet has a lot of problems. And some people want to jump ship. And we're going to be talking about this in lots of different ways about, the way people have viewed this in history and the whole 9 yards, because this isn't the first time that things got messed up. And the grass is always greener on the other side. But why are you looking for green grass on the other side? Why don't you try to fix what you already have? And we have tried this so many times. But let's get into what are they trying to do. There's something called Alternative 1, Alternative 2, and Alternative 3, which goes back to the 60s when we was having our nuclear arms race about what if something happened. What happens if that button got pushed and those missiles got sent in the air and they came raining down? What would happen? Is Alternative 1 was, to try to save everyone. If that's not possible, Alternative 2 is where you try to save the most important people. Alternative 3 is where you just take a handful of people and you try to get the hell out of there. Okay. You can't do anything. And this is what this alternative Earth theory is based upon, is because what if something happened and the Earth became uninhabitable, or something very bad happened, or maybe the next virus wiped out a very large part of the population or whatever. Before we was thinking about we could go to Mars or Jupiter or one of the moons of Jupiter or something like that, or one of the moons of Saturn. But we haven't been able to find a moon that would be, or a planet that would be easy to inhabit. Mars is the closest. But even with Mars, they estimate it would take hundreds of years to change the atmosphere of Mars, to heat it up. Some people even saying we could do that with nuclear devices, but we need to heat the planet up, and it would take hundreds of years to make Mars inhabitable without using some kind of, support system where we had to live under domes or live under the ground or do that. To convert the surface of Mars to where we could live on it would take hundreds of years. What happened? We don't have hundreds of years. This is why we have now started looking beyond our solar system. Because now that we know that there's planets out there, if we can just find something, maybe we can just jump to that. And, we don't have the technology yet, but the technology is always evolving. So let's look back in the past. We always like to go back in history, because if you want to see the future, you can see the past, because the past is the future and the future is the past. Time is circular. So is this the first time that things got bad and we wanted to abandon ship? The answer is no. Back in Europe, and during the Dark Ages and after the Dark Ages. Things got very bad in Europe. At first, you had all these diseases, and then after the diseases, you started having all these wars. And the wars was constant. You had the 100-Year War, you had this war, everybody was fighting everybody, and it was miserable. And Europe was just a thing of constant warfare. And people wanted to get out. And then that guy Columbus discovered this land over here called America. And people decided, hey, I'm tired of all this craziness over here. Why don't we go over there? The grass is greener over there. Okay. And the British was even talking about, God gave us this land, and America was going to be the new Atlantis. And we was going to go over there and turn it into, this paradise, this new Eden. But what was the problem? When they came over here, there was already people living here. But they solved that problem pretty quick. Okay. The Indians didn't do too well. Okay. And they kept making treaties with them and pushing them. And slowly, the disease killed a lot of them off. But in the span of 100 years or so, probably, 80% of the Indians, got wiped out. Okay. And not all of that was by accident. It was on purpose, because we wanted to open up the land so we would be able to settle it. And millions of people came from Europe, and they set up over here. And America became the promised land. And it was beautiful. And they was giving away, I know a guy, he's passed away now, but his father came from Europe. And when his father came from Bavaria, him and his brother was given, $200 and 200 acres of land. Okay. And in Bavaria, they had nothing. And they was given money and land, and they went out there, and the land was in Minnesota, and they went to visit the land, and they didn't really like it, so they sold the land, and they ended up moving to Texas and buying land here. And that's how they had the real big ranch here. Okay. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get our, blacks didn't get our, $200 and 200 acres. We was just after our 40 acres and a mule. We didn't even get that. But going back to the story we're supposed to be talking about, the grass is already greener. And what happened to all those Indians that was on the land? See, when the Spanish came, when we think of Spanish explorers, we think of Mexico and South America. But Spanish explorers came to the Americas too. And when the Spanish explorers wrote in the late 1600s, early 1700s about the Ohio Valley and the Mississippi River Delta and this and that and everything else, they described cities of hundreds of thousands of Indians and this and that and all these great earthworks and all these great Indian people and this and that and everything else. And then when the settlers came through later, none of that was people thought that was fiction, because we not only exterminated the Indians as we came across, as we moved west, but what the European settlers, the British settlers didn't know is that those Spanish explorers, as they explored, they carried disease with them, smallpox and other diseases, and so many of the Indians just died of diseases. Okay, this is what happened in Central America too. In Mexico, they estimate that 80% of all the Indians in Mexico City died of smallpox in a little period of like 10 years. Okay, can you imagine that? See, we have this coronavirus today. We're worried about 1% of the population can die. And since we live in a country of 300 million people, 1% could be a lot of people. Okay. But the Indians got totally wiped out. And then the few that survived when the settlers came through, they didn't do too well either. And these are some of the Indian stories. If you talk to some of the Indian tribes, they talk about that over a span of 100, 200 years, a lot of Indian tribes that had 100,000 people, they got down to only a few hundred people. Amazing. Okay. Now, this is what opened up the West and created this country we now call America and Canada and everything else. Now, why are we talking about this? Because let's say we find a planet that's 10 light years away from Earth. Okay. Now, at our present, if you could go the speed of light, it would take you 10 years to get there. But with technology, who knows what in 50, 100 years we might be able to do. Maybe we can do warp 2 or warp 4 or warp so whatever, or jump or whatever you want to call it. And, and it's just like back in the old days, what used to take, Columbus weeks to cross, we can now cross by plane in a few hours. So technology will change. But let's say we find a planet that's 10 light years away and it's beautiful. The atmosphere is breathable and this and that and everything else, and we're saying, damn, this is really nice. But is it going to be totally inhabited? Is it going to be a paradise planet with no one living on it? Probably not. Okay. But we know how to solve that problem, right? See, what people don't want to face, maybe I shouldn't be bringing this up, but this is where Hitler got his ideas from. Hitler got his ideas from learning about what happened in the Americas. Okay. And he said, damn, that's a great idea. And Germany is a small country and we need growing space. And, if we could get rid of all those Russians, oh my gosh, and we can get rid of the Jews and the Gypsies and a long list of other people, gosh, we would have lots of growing space. Is that what we're going to do when we find that planet in the future? Okay. This is very, very scary, because this is why we ask ourselves, how come our alien friends don't talk to us? How come they don't want to include us in their little thing? And most people believe in aliens. I definitely do. And they're out there. But they don't want to have nothing to do with us because of our barbaric nature. See, we're not going out there to explore space. We're not trying to understand space. We're not trying to comprehend space, as President Reagan said when he was president. He wanted America to be the first country to conquer space. Why does space need to be conquered? Okay. See, that is our attitude. The Catholic Church have already said, if alien life is discovered, they have the right to convert them to Catholicism. Okay. Maybe those people on that other planet got their own gods that they want to, do they want to be converted to Catholicism? Think about the Indians. That conversion didn't work out too well. Okay. This is the problem. With our barbaric nature, we if we're not careful, we could do some very bad things. And that's if we run across some people that are, less intelligent and less technically advanced than us. But what happens if they fight back? We could easily pick a battle with something that we think we can take them out in a little bit. Remember, we started a lot of wars on this planet where, like the war in Korea, we thought, we can, it's just going to take a few months. That war took years. When we did the Gulf War, people thought, oh, it's going to only take a few weeks. If, some of these wars, we've been in Afghanistan for 18 fighting seasons now. Okay, 18 years. Okay. And people thought we would be there for 6 months, a year, and 18 years later, we're still there. Okay. So sometimes, when you see people or whatever, and you say, oh, we can take them out real quick, it doesn't always work out. And do you even have the right to try to take them out? I don't think we're going to be able to find a planet that's totally perfect and uninhabited. That's what we call a Garden of Eden, where you find everything perfect and it's just totally empty. Okay. I don't think that happens, because everything, is made for something. Okay. And if we're going to venture beyond our world, we need to change our little attitude. Because if we go out there with the attitude we have, we are going to have a very hard time. But there's no reason for us to be doing this, because just like the problems in Europe finally solved their problems. Now you got the EU, and yeah, they still, the Hungarians don't like these people, and the French are mad at those people, and the Spanish, okay, everybody hates everybody in the world. We know that, but they're not fighting anymore. They actually discuss things, and they all end their union. How come we can't do that on this planet? How come we can't get along with each other? That's what we need to do. We need to, instead of looking for that Garden of Eden somewhere else, and we're going to leave the headache here, we need to try to figure out how to solve our problems. Okay. Because a lot of the problems we're having now are giant, like this coronavirus problem. But a lot of these problems are caused, all the last few diseases, coronavirus, swine flu, bird flu. If you go back to H1N1 and the long list going back, is all caused by the same issue. Is that a disease or a problem in one part of the world becomes everybody's problem, because people are jumping around from one place to another. And you can be in Hong Kong 1 minute, and several hours later, you can be halfway around the world. So if there's a problem in Africa, or a problem in Asia, or a problem in Mexico City, or whatever, people jump on planes and it becomes everybody's problem. And this is why these local diseases become global epidemics and pandemics. Okay. Now, we think we have problems now. If we start jumping planets, what we're going to do when somebody catch this disease from Alpha Centauri, or this disease from Reticuli and whatever, you think we're going to have any, we talk about people immune systems can't even fight the coronavirus because we don't have no immunity against that. What do we have against an alien virus? Okay. The secret is we have to learn how to fight back. And if we have, and instead of saying it's an African disease or a Chinese disease or whatever, if a disease come along, we have to learn to solve that problem. The problem we had with the coronavirus, when the coronavirus was in China, it was considered a Chinese problem. We knew a lot of people in China was dying, but did anyone care? Not really, because it was a Chinese problem. But we're not really laughing and giggling anymore, because now that problem that was over there is now over here. Okay. We have to learn that all of humanity is one. And if there's a problem anywhere in the world, we need to go and, don't let that molehill turn into a mountain. And if we hear that there's somebody in India, there's people in India dying of this, or there's in Timbuktu, this is going on, or whatever, we need to go over there and check that out before it gets too big, and what they call nip it in the butt before it gets too big. Because we have the technology. We just need to use it. And the problem we have with the coronavirus, we waited until people started dying in the United States before we started taking it seriously. And now we are behind the 8 ball. Okay. And if we can't even handle problems here in our backyard, and if we have problems here, what are we going to do when people are jumping from planet to planet? And they're bringing all kind of who knows what. Okay. This is what we need to think about. We need to solve our problems here. And this planet, there's 7 billion of us living on this planet. We grow enough food to feed everyone on this planet. And the experts would tell you, there is not a food shortage on the earth. There is a problem with people not having the ability to buy food. Because if you don't have the ability to buy food, you can literally starve to death. And this is why there's starvation all around the world. Because not that there's not enough food, they don't have the money to pay for it. Okay. And this is the driving force behind a lot of the problems we have, is that we don't take care of our fellow man, and we let things get out of control. And a lot of problems in countries where these wars are fighting all over the world in different countries. A lot of these problems, they're fighting over water, or they're fighting over oil, or fighting over this or that. And we don't need to fight. If there's a problem where if somebody would discover oil, and 2 countries are arguing over who that oil belonged to, if they start fighting, and then 500,000 refugees are all over the place, like what's going on in Libya and all these other crazy places and whatever, how is that helping the problem? Man, there used to be something called humanism. Humanism was the belief that man has man's problem. And if man has a problem, then man need to figure it out. And we can figure things out through ration and logic and reasoning. We don't have to pick up swords or cannons or aircraft or nuclear bombs and all this other stuff to solve problems. Okay. We need to get to that point, because I am not an American. You're not a Mexican or an Italian or this or that or whatever. We are all humans. And we have to start seeing ourselves as human beings. And if one human have a problem, then we have to look out for our fellow man. Because we are looking that way. But how do we know that somebody is not looking this way? And that's what they make movies about. While we're looking to over there and see the grass is greener, someone might be looking at the earth and say, hey, those crazy people, they're just killing each other. And I kind of like that planet. If we could just wipe them out, or they're killing themselves anyway, if we just help them in the process, then we could go over there and have that planet. Okay, I got big plans for that planet over there. See, we can't wait for that to happen. It's up to us to solve our problems. Okay. And, and there is so many things that we could do. On the earth, most people now, there's so many people in the world that work for less than $1 a day. And now that we're going to this virus thing, All over the world, countries are telling people to stay at home. You can't work because the virus is out there. So they're paying people to stay home. But the amount of money people are getting paid varies dramatically. In India, they're giving people $23.80 a week to stay home. Okay. In Europe, they're getting almost $3,000 to stay home. In America, they're going to give us $1,200 to stay home. Okay. See, why is that number varying dramatically all over the world, how much you're getting paid to stay home? Because so many people in the world work for peanuts. In America, $23.80 is nothing. In India, that's a week's salary. How can you make it on $23.80? This is why in those countries they have so many problems. And we don't even have to look halfway around the world. We could just look to Mexico and Guatemala, Honduras, and whatever, and we're complaining that all these people from those countries are trying to get in, and we're building border walls and whatever. But they want to come over here because they can get a job here at minimum wage. In Texas, it's still $7.25 an hour. It's not $15 in Texas. It's still $7 an hour. But even at $7 an hour, that's 3, 4, 5 times what they're getting paid over there. Okay. We need to solve our problem. The grass is green where we are. We need to solve our problems here first. As the Bible says, before you try to get the splinter out of your neighbor's eye, you need to get it out of yours. Okay. And it's great that we, in America like to complain about how terrible Africa is and how terrible South America is and how terrible this and whatever. But you have, New York City got the largest homeless population in the United States, New York and LA. And those are not the only two places with a very large homeless population. You have so many homeless people in Chicago, Detroit, Washington, D.C., Florida, Arizona. It's really bad. And why does why the richest country in the world have so many homeless people? It's not that there's not a shortage of homes. They said that several times. There's enough homes in America to give everybody a home. Even if we gave every homeless person a home, they wouldn't fill all the vacant homes in America. The reason why there's homeless people because they lack the money to have a place to live. Okay. Everything is money. And if you don't have money, you have nothing. And this is what makes people's morals very low, because since everything is money, that tells so many people that don't have high morals is that I need money. It's not important how they get the money, as long as they get it. And boy, people are willing to do very bad things to get that. Okay. So, back to our original point. The earth has its problems. We need to fix our problems here. Yes, one day which we talked about earlier, a month or two ago, over the next 100 years, we're going to start doing asteroid mining. We're going to put a base on the moon, and we want to put a base on Mars, and we're going to start exploring outward. And I guess that might be a good paying job 100 years from now, be an asteroid miner or this or that or whatever. Maybe 200 years from now, we will have bases in other solar systems. But we need to remember where home is. And just like a lot of people, they have to leave their homes today to make money. Okay, and they're truck driving and they're this and that, and some people, go up, especially along in the valley, along the border. A lot of the people here, they go up north in the summer to make money. They go to pick the crops or they go to do other things, but they always come back because their families are here. This is home. Okay. And I do not believe we will ever get to the point where that other planet and that other star system is home. Because home for all of humanity is the earth. And we can have bases wherever we want to, just like the United States got bases all over the world. But if you ask any serviceman in any of those bases all over the world, where is home? He will tell you home is the United States of America. You got to know where home is. And we can be halfway across the galaxy, but home will always be the planet Earth. And we need to take care of this one, because if we lose our home, we will be homeless as a species. We will not have a home to return to. And that's very sad. And we will not survive if humanity does not have a home. And God gave us a paradise planet. We're the ones who screwed it up. We're the ones who messed it up. We're the ones who did everything. But so all we have to do is stop. And there was a little girl running around, last year. This girl that was trying to, she was trying to tell us about global warming and climate change, and we need to do this and that, and everybody. And a lot of people was giving her a hard time, The Bible says if he can't find a person to deliver his word, he'll use an animal if he have to. Okay. Maybe he was using that little girl. We have to do what we need to do, because we was not given dominion of the earth. That is a misstatement in the Bible. We was given stewardship of the earth. What is the difference between those two words? When you're given dominion, that means it's your property. You can do whatever in the hell you want to do with it. Okay. When you're given stewardship, that means you are legally responsible. That's the reason that book says God will destroy those who destroy the earth, because we're legally responsible for what happens here. Okay. So if we think we can trash and destroy this place, kill all the fish, pollute the ocean, kill all the animals, this and that, and then when the earth is leaning over and is almost uninhabitable, we say, oops, it's time to jump. Time to go to that new earth, and we can have, new everything. Okay. Just like we have New York today, we can have new Chicago and new Detroit and new this and a new Houston, and no. We need to fix what we have. And before we think about going out there, we need to work on fixing the problem here while we're doing what we need to do. Okay. But the earth is home. And it's the only home humanity got. So this is what we need to do. So this was our little conversation today. But, scientists is out there. You can read about all their discoveries, and they're working extremely hard. And you may not know about all of this because, they're finding some planets that are 50 light years away, 200 light years away, 30 light years, 600, and you're saying, gosh, it's impossible. But For one, the military is around 50 to 75 years ahead of us. Plus, we've been cheating with our little alien friends. See, we don't even know the technology that our government have. Okay. And when we're talking distance, just like, long time ago, you know, it wasn't, even if you go back to America, it used to take people a month to go from St. Louis, Missouri to California. That was like a 3-month journey. It doesn't take 3 months anymore. A truck driver today, he can do that in 3 days, maybe 2.5. Okay. The technology has changed a lot. Okay. Who's to say what technology we won't have 50, 100, 200 years from now? And maybe talking 20 light years or 50 light years to be talking about, oh, that's just like going to Chicago from Chicago to Japan today or something, But it doesn't make any difference. If we don't get our act together, if we don't learn to get along with each other, if we don't learn the basic thing of respect, and if we take all of our garbage and all of our bad attitudes and all of this and all of our hatred and bigotry and everything else, and we take that, across into space, nothing's going to be different. Okay. It's not going to be the same. We're just taking our problems from one place to another place. But if we solve our problems and if we work together as one, for one, we can fix the problems we have on this planet. And maybe then we can try to expand and do better. But we will never be able to replace the earth. And the idea of one day we'll be able to, leave this behind, or just leave all the poor people here and all the rich people are going to move to that new paradise over there. We've been there. We done that. Okay. So we just need to think about this. But the earth will always be home. It is the mother. Okay. And humanity, home is the earth. And that will never change. I hope you enjoyed our little talk for the day. I'm always here for you. And, what you need to do is, I've been having a lot of Facebook problems lately. And, I'm going to be doing a lot of things on YouTube, in the near future. And I'm buying some new equipment and whatever. And we might start broadcasting from there in several weeks. We just have to see what is going on. But either way, I will be there for you. If you need to contact me, you can contact me. Go to YouTube and sign up with my channel over there, and you'll be able to keep up to date. I'm still on Facebook for now. They're pissed off at me, and you can still be on my Facebook page, but they're always, every day they got another complaint over everything I'm doing. So I think they're slowly trying to get rid of me, but that's another argument for another day, because I must go straight and I have a job to do, and my job is to let people know what's going on. And maybe some things that I post, they don't like or whatever, but I'm not posting crazy stuff. I'm just trying to let people know what is going on and this and that, and, but everybody is judged on what they do. And I'm going to be judged at the end of my life by what I do. And I'm going to be judged to do what is right. And if you don't like it or the other person don't like it, I'll handle that at the appropriate time. With that, I'm out of here. I want you to have a nice one. And my name is Lynn David Livsey. Remember, I'm your full spectrum Gnostic, and I will always be here for you. Contact me through my email, my Facebook page, or my YouTube page. But you contact me, we stay in touch, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you. Bye.